At 02:41 a.m., 3 reconnaissance satellites go dark. Orbital altitude, 248 miles. Position, over the Pacific. The command center receives no warning, no distress signal, no debris field. The satellites simply stop transmitting. Space Command confirms all 3 offline within 8 minutes. This is not malfunction. This is attack. Combat Power examines warfare beyond the atmosphere where one strike blinds an entire military. The satellites cost $2.7 billion each. They provided real-time intelligence across 6,000 miles. They tracked enemy movements. They guided precision strikes. They coordinated naval operations. Without them, commanders operate blind. GPS signals degrade. Communication links fail. Targeting data vanishes. The advantage shifts in seconds. The enemy planned this perfectly. They identified the orbital window when all 3 satellites converged over strategic waters. They launched kinetic interceptors from mobile platforms, small rockets, minimal heat signature, invisible until impact. The satellites never had a chance. At 02:49 a.m., analysts calculate the next target. 12 satellites remain in the constellation. The attackers have momentum. They proved capability. They achieved surprise. Logic suggests they continue. Space Command estimates 6 hours until the next strike, maybe less. The decision lands on the duty general. He has 2 options: wait and watch, or respond immediately. Waiting means losing more satellites. Responding means escalating to weapons in space. Combat Power analyzes decisions made in minutes that reshape decades of policy. The general orders preparation of anti-satellite weapons. The United States maintains ground-based interceptors at 4 locations. Each site holds 12 missiles, 48 total shots. They can reach low Earth orbit in 9 minutes, but they need targeting data. Satellites track satellites. With 3 already gone, coverage has gaps. The remaining orbital sensors scan for threats. They find 17 objects that should not exist. New launches, small vehicles. Velocity, 4.9 miles per second. They are climbing toward the satellite constellation. Time to intercept existing satellites, 90 seconds. The general makes his call. He authorizes launches from 2 sites. 8 interceptors fire simultaneously. They accelerate at 7 Gs. Passengers would black out. The missiles do not care. They are not carrying passengers. They are carrying kinetic kill vehicles traveling 17,500 miles per hour. Which force breaks first? A. American Satellite Network. B. Enemy interceptors. C. Ground command systems. At 02:52 a.m., the first American interceptor reaches orbit. Its sensors acquire the nearest threat: a small cylinder, 4 feet long, 70 pounds, moving at orbital velocity. The kill vehicle adjusts trajectory. Microthrusters fire in millisecond bursts. The geometry aligns. Impact occurs at 02:53:14 a.m. The combined velocity is 35,000 miles per hour. Both objects vaporize. Debris expands in a cloud 8 miles wide. 1 enemy interceptor destroyed. 16 remain. The second American missile finds its target. Impact. 15 enemy vehicles left. The third American shot misses by 200 feet. At orbital speeds, 200 feet is total failure. The enemy interceptor continues. It closes on a GPS satellite worth $500 million. Impact in 40 seconds. Combat Power shows that space offers no second chances and no room for error. The fourth American interceptor recalculates. Its computer determines it cannot reach the original target in time. It selects a new one. Collision course locked. Impact at 02:54:03 a.m. 14 enemy vehicles remain. The fifth interceptor fails to launch. Technical malfunction. Electrical fault in the guidance system. The ground crew scrambles. They cannot fix it. Not in time. 7 American missiles remain active. 14 enemy threats still climbing. The mathematics turn ugly. What happens next changes everything. At 02:54 a.m., the enemy vehicles reach attack range. They do not target satellites. They target other enemy vehicles. Specifically, they target the debris clouds from destroyed interceptors. Each enemy vehicle carries a small explosive charge. When they detonate inside debris fields, they create thousands of new fragments. Each fragment becomes a projectile. Millions of pieces of metal traveling at orbital velocity. The debris expands. It spreads across orbital lanes. It threatens everything in low Earth orbit. This is the Kessler syndrome, a chain reaction of collisions. Space becomes impassable. The enemy sacrifices their own weapons to create an orbital minefield. Combat power examines the moment when winning means destroying the battlefield itself. The American Command Center recognizes the trap. If more interceptors launch, more debris generates. The orbital lanes become more dangerous. Eventually, they become unusable. No satellites, no space stations, no orbital capability for anyone. The enemy accepts this cost. They have fewer satellites to lose. The general faces a new calculation: stop launching and accept losing satellites, or continue launching and risk long-term access to space. He has 30 seconds to decide. Delay means more satellites go dark. His staff argues both sides. The intelligence officer demands protection of remaining assets. The science advisor warns about debris cascade. The operations officer wants overwhelming response. 30 seconds is not enough time for perfect analysis. Combat power reveals that command decisions are made with incomplete information and irreversible consequences. The general orders selective engagement. Target only enemy vehicles still ascending. Avoid creating debris in high-traffic orbital lanes. Protect the most critical satellites. Accept losing some. This is triage. At 02:55 a.m., 3 American interceptors engage. They target enemy vehicles below 200 miles altitude. Lower orbits mean debris decays faster. It falls back to Earth within weeks instead of years. 2 hits, 1 miss. 11 enemy vehicles remain. 8 reach attack altitude. They strike. 4 more American satellites go dark. Total loss: 7 satellites. The constellation is crippled. GPS accuracy drops by 60%. Intelligence gathering capability falls by 75%. Communication bandwidth is cut in half. Military operations across 3 continents are affected. Naval groups lose precision targeting. Airstrikes require visual confirmation. Ground units revert to paper maps. Combat power documents how modern warfare depends on systems most people never see. The remaining satellites adjust orbits. They spread out. They become harder to target. But they also become less effective. Gaps appear in coverage. Some regions go completely dark for hours at a time. The enemy achieves strategic effect. At 03:12 a.m., Space Command assesses damage. 7 satellites destroyed. 4 ground interceptors failed to launch. 3 interceptors expended. Debris in orbit. Estimated 47 trackable pieces. Each piece is a potential weapon. The debris field will persist for decades. Some fragments will eventually fall. Others will remain in orbit for a century. Every future launch must navigate this minefield. The enemy spent approximately $200 million on their attack. They destroyed $18.9 billion in American assets. The exchange rate is devastating. Necessary defense or catastrophic vulnerability. Combat power analyzes why space warfare follows different rules than terrestrial combat. Orbital mechanics are unforgiving. There is no cover, no terrain, no weather, only velocity and trajectory. Every action creates equal and opposite reactions. Every weapon becomes a hazard. The environment is hostile to both sides. This creates strange strategic calculus. Attacking in space harms the attacker. But if the attacker has less to lose, they gain advantage. The United States maintains 830 active satellites. The enemy operates 140. Destroying space infrastructure hurts America more. The enemy understands this asymmetry. They weaponize it. Combat power tracks how advantage shifts based on dependence and vulnerability. How many interceptors can one destroyer launch simultaneously? A. 24. B. 96. C. Over 200. This question is a misdirection. Destroyers operate in oceans. In space, different rules apply. Ground-based interceptors number in dozens, not hundreds. Each shot takes minutes to reach orbit. There is no rapid-fire capability, no magazine depth. Space defense relies on having the right asset in the right orbit at the right time. This scenario demonstrates why that is nearly impossible. After the attack, emergency protocols activate. Commercial satellites are requisitioned. Allied nations share intelligence feeds. Reconnaissance aircraft fly extended missions. The military adapts. But adaptation takes time. For 6 hours, capability is degraded. For 6 weeks, it remains below normal. For 6 months, debris poses collision risk. The enemy gains initiative. They move forces. They reposition assets. They exploit the intelligence gap. Combat power shows that winning the first engagement creates cascading advantages. American response takes multiple forms: diplomatic pressure, economic sanctions, cyber operations, conventional military posturing. None of these restore the satellites. None of these clear the debris. The damage is done. If combat power decides wars, type combat power. Space Command accelerates deployment of replacement satellites. New launches are scheduled, but each launch now requires debris avoidance. Flight paths are modified. Costs increase. Launch windows narrow. The orbital environment is more dangerous. This remains true for everyone. The enemy also struggles with debris. They lose 2 satellites to unexpected collisions. Their own interceptors created fragments that hit their own assets. This is the paradox of space warfare. There are no winners, only different degrees of loss. Combat power reveals that some battlefields punish everyone equally. The United States begins development of new systems, satellites with maneuvering capability, hardened designs, decoys and chaff, electronic warfare in orbit, space-based interceptors. Each solution costs billions. Each takes years to deploy. The technological race continues. What would you order next? Military planners face complex choices. Accelerate space militarization and risk escalation. Pursue international treaties and risk being outpaced. Develop alternative systems and accept reduced capability. Or accept space as a contested domain and plan accordingly. The decision determines how future wars are fought. This scenario represents emerging reality. Anti-satellite weapons exist. Multiple nations possess them. The technology is proven. The tactics are understood. Only political restraint prevents widespread use. That restraint is eroding. Combat power monitors the threshold between policy and action. In this scenario, 7 satellites were lost. In reality, some constellations contain hundreds. Starlink operates over 5,000 satellites. Losing 7 would barely register. This suggests redundancy as defense. If you cannot protect satellites, multiply them. Make targeting inefficient. But this creates new problems. More satellites mean more debris when destroyed. The Kessler syndrome becomes more likely. The long-term cost may exceed short-term benefit. Combat power examines trade-offs that have no perfect answer. The satellite strike scenario teaches several lessons. First, space assets are vulnerable. Second, offense has advantage over defense. Third, attacking in space creates lasting consequences. Fourth, dependence on orbital systems is a strategic weakness. These lessons inform how militaries prepare for future conflict. Some reduce dependence on satellites. They develop alternatives, autonomous systems, inertial navigation, line-of-sight communications. These are less capable, but more survivable. Others increase satellite numbers. They accept losses as inevitable. They plan for degraded operations. They build redundancy into every system. Both approaches cost enormous sums. Quiz answer: the question was misdirection. Destroyers do not defend space. Ground interceptors do. America maintains 48 ground-based shots across 4 sites. Against a determined attack using dozens of weapons, this is insufficient. The defender must achieve near-perfect success. The attacker only needs a few hits. The mathematics favor aggression. Consider these questions. Can space remain a sanctuary from warfare? Should satellites be considered legitimate military targets? What happens when orbital debris makes space unusable? How do nations fight wars without GPS? These questions demand answers. Combat power provides analysis, not politics, not ideology, only the calculations of force and consequence. The satellite strike scenario will happen. The technology exists. The tactics are known. The strategic logic is sound. Only timing remains uncertain. When it occurs, advantages will shift. Wars will be fought differently. Combat power will document what happens. Subscribe to Combat Power, where raw force decides survival. No mercy, no pause. Only the reality that space is no longer neutral territory, and the side that strikes first gains years of advantage while the debris continues to orbit above. A permanent reminder that some victories create damage that cannot be undone.